Hi guys, welcome to a question of the Ferrrers Sport, episode 5. Really exciting one tonight. It's with Mannion, Man City and England footballer and two-time Team of the Year defender. So, Aoife, could you just talk to us about your journey from when you started to play football all the way through to where you are now at one of the biggest clubs in the world?
I'm going to try and condense 20 years into 30 seconds. Started playing football in the garden, 2 years old, 3 years old, I don't know, booting the ball against the garden wall or whatever. Just really liked it, really enjoyed it. Wanted to get involved with, predominantly at that time, it was just lads, it was boys in the playground. I wanted to play. I brought the ball, so they let me play. Right, I was maybe the only girl, maybe there was another one or two. Then I started going to like half-term camps and stuff like that. So one thing led to another. Then I'm playing at a boys football youth team, and from there I spent my professional career at Birmingham City, and also in the last 2 years I've actually came across to Manchester and I play for Man City now.
Cool. When did you realise that becoming a pro was a real possibility for you?
I was actually at uni, so I was playing for Birmingham when it was kind of semi-professional, shall we say. So training in the evenings, was getting paid for it, but not enough to do it as my only job. And so there's like this grey area of when something is professional and when it isn't. And it was probably a couple of years into my uni degree where actually it was starting to take up more and more time. There was more and more opportunities, and it came to a point where I knew that after uni that was what I was wanted to do as my only thing. So it wasn't really something that was that realistic maybe when I was 10 years old or even 15 years old. It's literally only in the last few years that it's become a realistic opportunity for people.
Because obviously it's a massive thing now, isn't it? The women's game has sort of transcended over the last 5 years, shall we say. And so you have got people now that have got aspirations of becoming a pro footballer, whereas before there wasn't that. And that's why I think it's really important that the students realise that the movement with that game, in particular the female side of things, because now, as you said, you probably could have played for Birmingham City without being a professional athlete, but you would have been the quality of a professional footballer, which is obviously amazing now that you've got that platform to obviously 90 odd caps for Birmingham and obviously now moving to City. What motivates you to train hard each and every day? Obviously it's tough. Obviously your legs will be hurting, arms, etc. But what's the motivator each and every day?
The motivation changes. I think the easiest motivator is that it's actually quite a fun job, you know?
Yeah.
So it's not, I'm not going to sit here and say that it's really hard. I'm not in an office sat down from 7 a.m. till 7 p.m. And so there's elements of the day, like the training sessions and actually the match days, that are just so fun. And anyone who plays sport, so not even necessarily football, will be able to relate to that. And there's probably a common thread through people just doing it for fun and then people being their actual job, is that everyone has the same insight of why you do it. Now, when it becomes all that you do, obviously things don't, it doesn't feel as, it's not that same necessary, like it's not your release at the weekend, or it's not your release twice a week training. It's actually every day, and so it becomes something different. And so I would say that my motivation currently when I play, I'm a little bit, well, I'm quite injured at the moment, but on the back end of it, I would say my motivation is that when I go out to play, I know that I'm not going to get found out as a player, and that I'm going to be able to thrive, and that I'm going to be able to compete and put across a good version of myself on the pitch. And so that's what I'm thinking on a Tuesday morning. I'm looking out now. Let's make it even more relevant. We're filming this on a Wednesday. I can't see any blue sky, rubbish weather, really cold. That's my little motivation. That's what I'm thinking, like, do it properly now. And then when you go to the weekend, not that it's all fun and games, well, it is literally games, but it's quite serious, but you can kind of just rest in the knowledge that, okay, I've done the work. I guess it's a little bit like an exam, if you're if you're cramming right before your exam, then maybe you didn't do it properly. Not saying that none of us have done that, because we all do that, But that's the kind of thinking behind doing it.
It's almost like working when everybody else is asleep or resting, and you're sort of doing that extra 10%, which is going to give you that easier sort of game at the weekend, isn't it? And I suppose it's a great way of looking at things with the exam side of thing, obviously for our students, but also with a game scenario that when it's hard, that's when it sort of counts as such. So obviously you're injured at the moment. We'll touch upon that at a later date. But what does a typical week look like for you when you're training and playing for a match at the weekend?
So there's quite a lot of, like, our days are actually quite routine. We go in at the same time every day. Things are a little bit different with the pandemic, but roughly on a normal day, we'll go in for breakfast at 8:30, have breakfast together, then we'll have an analysis meeting. So that'll be looking at video clips of training, of games, of the opposition. Then we'll go into the gym and just do a little bit to like warm your body up to go outside onto the pitch. We'll train for a couple of hours, never more than that, mostly a lot less actually. So not as long on the football as you'd actually think. Come in, get in the gym. The strength coach will have put together a program, so you'll be doing that for an hour, maybe a little over an hour. Then lunch, and then that's your day. So it's like it's a front loaded day. It's very intense in the morning, but then from 2 o'clock onwards, you're kind of, well, you've got nothing really. Like, you're going home to relax, and in a way you are zonked when you go home. So you have all this time and you think, okay, I can do so much, but actually you've only got the energy to sit on your couch sometimes.
I suppose it's almost allowing your body to rest and recover, ready for the next front-loaded morning and sort of the impact on your body. What types of training do you do? You mentioned the gym work. What types do you do in the gym?
So when I say gym, I mean like lifting weights. So I mean a barbell on your back. I mean squats, deadlifts, all the stuff that looks quite meaty. I know, obviously, let's say most people, when they say gym, they might mean doing cardio on a treadmill. When we say it, we mean going in, lifting weights, lifting heavy stuff. And the thought behind that is just to try and, number one, reduce the chance of injury. And then number two, the thinking being that if you're stronger and you're physically more fit, then you're going to be better able to compete against whoever your relevant, battle is on the pitch. And so that's what we do when we go into the gym, stuff like that.
So what's your favourite gym exercise or activity?
Probably squats, I think you get the most bang for your buck out of a good squat, and I'm not saying any of these half squats. If you do it properly, it's quite hard. And I think when you've done really hard squats, it the next day. And deadlifts are another one that they can really catch you. As I'm saying this, I'm thinking of more and more. It's all quite hard, but probably.
What's your least favourite then? What's your least favourite exercise to do?
So I'm rehabbing at the moment, and the coach has me like dropping off a box 50 centimeters high and landing on my leg that we're rehabbing. And 50 centimeters when you're like dropping off is quite high. And so just the impact of that, and because you've got some vulnerabilities around where you've been injured, you have to try and expose it, obviously, and get it strong. So that's the one where I'm thinking, I hope it doesn't give. And of course it doesn't, because the program's been put in place. But probably them sort of stuff at the moment.
Yeah, so the risk of injury obviously at the back of your mind, thinking, if the sort of a maybe. Yeah, that's absolutely great. So during pre-season, does that mean complete rest, or do you have specific targets and nutritional plans and aims to meet throughout the pre-season? Or is it just rest and then come back in the sort of new year?
Do you mean in the off season, or like Christmas, or
so it's end of the season?
Yeah, a mix of everything that you've said, really. The main thing really is to rest. It's quite emotionally intense when you're in season. So for example, we're going to have something like 8 games in 4 weeks. And so there really is no messing about. It's game, kind of recover, game, recover. So your off season is just go and see your family and your friends properly, go on holiday if you want to go on holiday, switch off, maybe do a little bit of cycling somewhere if you fancy that. Everyone is quite different. Some of the girls wouldn't be able to take more than a day off. They'd want to be doing workouts every day. Other people are the complete opposite. Rest means literally chilling, resting, not doing anything. So it wouldn't be for me, I suppose, to speak for everyone, but a mixture of everything that you've said. A loose little plan of kind of, hey, maybe do a couple of these sessions, so a gym session or a pitch session, very like loose, like you dip into that if you want. And then the idea being that when you come back into pre-season, that's the beginning of real focused, intense work in the build up for the next season.
Yeah, sounds really cool. Sounds nice. It's almost like you can sort of have a bit of a chill, but then you've sort of got to tick yourself over. That's cool. Do you have a specific pre-match routine? Because I know some players have, like, they put their right sock on, then their right shin pad, etc. Do you have anything like that, or is there any superstitions that you've got?
Nothing interesting, you know. Yeah, there's quite a like there's a bit of a popular thing at the moment where people cut their socks. Don't know if you saw it. So people will have a special just sock at the bottom, and then they'll cut it and then wear their club sock from the ankle upwards. I don't do that, but I know that for some people it's like it's do or die. That is a real part of their routine. Probably the most obvious one is just like the types of things that you eat and like when you're eating, sleeping the night before. For me, it's nothing funky really.
No problem. I know some people have got some crazy things that they get up to, and I'm like, wow. Obviously, just going to touch on the WSL now and the standard. How much has the standard increased from your perspective? Obviously, because we're more sort of, it's there readily available for us. But has it increased a lot, or is it just that we actually can access it now?
It's a little bit of everything. The standard has really, really changed. So if you imagine that when I was competing in the WSL in, let's say, 2013 or 2014, I was at school, you know, I was doing all of my schoolwork. We were training in the evenings. And so if you compare that version of me, let's say 7 years ago to now, it being like properly, really quite serious, and it being the only thing that I do now, the quality is obviously going to increase. And with the popularity that's come to the game, better coaches being attracted. So now we're starting to see men's coaches coaching the game. Our coach at the moment, he coached the under 18 boys before he coached us. So it's not just a thing that perhaps only people who have worked in the WSL before want to do. Different people want to get involved now because it's on television quite a lot. And we're starting to attract the best players from different countries. So we've recently had Sam Lewis and Rose Lavelle, who are stars out in America, probably a couple of the biggest names in female football at the moment, come to our team. And that's held across the board of all the teams, that we're actually attracting players from different nations.
Yeah, it's amazing to see that sort of platform now, isn't it? Which you've also got to be able to showcase your talents and to share that you are rightfully so pro footballers, and you've got the platform then to say, this is what we do, watch us, and actually see how good we are, which is brilliant. What things do you think will happen in the next 5 years? Obviously, the last 5 years has been absolute masses of changes. Do you envisage any other changes dramatically in the next 5 years or not?
I think I think the growth will continue. I think we'll start to see some real like famous personalities in women's football. So in the same way that even if you don't follow MMA, everyone knows Conor McGregor, or even if you don't follow football, people have heard of like the big male names. I think you'll start to see that, where people just know some names even if they're not following the game. I think it will be more and more on television. It's been on BT. I think BT Sport is the one that mainly shows us, but it will be more the BBC. Maybe in the future it will be Sky Sports. And when it's easy to see, and it's just if you flick on your television, it's there. Like, people are going to watch it. And right at the top, so right the top few teams in the league, when they play against each other, I would back myself to say it's actually quite entertaining. Like, it is a good game. So when you get your Cities versus Chelseas, or your City versus Arsenals, you're having there's some proper ballers on the team. I'm more of a defender, so I'm not going to put myself in that bracket. But there are some people who, you know, they can strike a ball better than a lot of the blokes can. So that's exciting.
Yeah, it's amazing to see. And like I say, we'll just see where it goes over the next 5 years, because the game in the last 5 years, obviously as a PE teacher, we follow it. It's been sort of, the growth has been second to none, hasn't it? Like, it's absolutely amazing. Like I say, I know I've used the word platform again, but BT Sport have given you that platform almost to say, here we are, and this is what we can do. So the move to Man City, how difficult was that, and how much did it pull on the heartstrings to leave your hometown club?
It felt like quite a natural move. You know, there is no getting around the fact that City is a real big club within women's sport. And so Birmingham is my hometown club and the team that I've followed since I was little. And so, you know, it does feel a little bit like you're moving away from home. I knew in my heart that it was the right decision for me. You know, you can't turn down a move to City, can you? It didn't make it any easier. And even the fact that I'm from Birmingham and that, you know, it's basically moving away from my family as well, that made it difficult. But it really was kind of a dream move for me at that point. And so it was an exciting one. I was moving away, sadly, from my family, but for great reasons.
Oh, cool. That's obviously been an amazing progression for you to go and play for one of the biggest teams in the world. How's it been with England? Obviously, you've gone through all the ranks, and what's it like playing for England? Obviously, for those people that might never get the chance, obviously, to wear those 3 lions, it must be an amazing feeling. So just share that.
I mean, it's probably the one thing that people who are really into football will dream about when they're little, is playing for their country and playing at Wembley or playing in the FA Cup. And so it just feels like it is such a privilege. I've played in all the youth age groups, and then the next little step, if I'm lucky or privileged enough, would be to be capped at the senior level. So that's maybe something for me to look forward to. And it is what it says on the tin. It's just a privilege. That doesn't mean that it doesn't feel difficult at times, because I think there's a responsibility that comes with that, because fans expect, you know, great performances. They expect wins. They expect to progress in tournaments, and that can be really hard to deliver. I know the girls that go away on the tournaments like the World Cup and the European Championships, you know, when it doesn't go well, or you don't quite meet the standards or the expectations you had for yourself, that can be difficult. But overall, it is a total honour and privilege.
How did you cope with the pressure of obviously playing for your country and also playing for Man City?
You do it again and again and again and again, and you become not numb to it, but you get used to it. I don't have any other strategy for dealing with pressure other than that. And one small example was my first game for City was actually in the men's stadium, so the Etihad Stadium. We were playing against Mannion, and I think there was about, I want to say, let's say, I don't know how many fans, let's say, I don't know, let's just say 30,000. I can't remember how many there were. And when we were at Blues, we would get maybe under 1,000. So you can imagine that it was a lot bigger atmosphere, and it felt more intense. And I'd never done it before, and it just felt so intense. And I was so drained by the atmosphere and so drawn into the emotions of it. And I noticed that the girls that I was playing with just didn't feel like that. And the only reason why that was the case was just simply that they've done it before. They've done that. They do that dance. They've been at Wembley several times. They've played in big stadiums, and so just experience, really.
Oh, cool! Sounds amazing. Obviously, you deal with the pressure, as a teacher. The first lesson you ever teach is like, "Oh, what am I going to do now?" But then obviously it comes second nature, almost, isn't it? I suppose.
Yeah.
Obviously, you're going to touch on your injury now. How did you get injured, and what's the sort of time frame on your injury now, and how are you?
Well, firstly, I'm good. Thanks for asking. I got injured back in October 2019. So that feels so long ago now. I did something called my ACL, which is a ligament in my knee. I ruptured it. So kind of whatever came apart. And it's the type of injury that you have to have surgery for. And the rehab is quite long. So I had surgery Christmas time last year. and I've been rehabbing since then. So I've been rehabbing for just over, well, a little bit over a year now. And thankfully, you've got me at a good time for the interview, because the difference between me being back on the pitch is weeks, you know, rather than months, which it would have always been before. And so I'm just right at the end of that now. And so really looking forward to being back.
Oh, cool. Just on the back of that, what are your aims for 2021? Obviously, to play football, I suppose, is the first one. But what's the next aim?
So I suppose, firstly, you know, when you've not, it feels like a great novelty to be back on the pitch at the moment. So even just getting out in the fresh air, you know, when you've just been in the gym for so long, even just being out in the fresh air feels amazing. My aims are to compete at the club, you know, I'm a defender, so I want to be playing. I want to be on the team sheet. I want to be getting all the minutes, you know, all the normal stuff that people want to say. And then if I was lucky in that respect, then the kick on from that would be to also maybe represent my country, England, and support them at different competitions and tournaments. And so that's the aim, really.
Cool. And obviously, we wish you well in that journey over the next 12 months. It'll be amazing. Just last thing, just what advice would you give to young footballers, both male and female, that are looking to have a career in the professional game?
Do it. I don't think you never get to decide that you're going to be do something professional, but you can decide to follow your interests and your curiosity. So let's say, I imagine for you, like, you probably knew that you liked being around people and maybe being in a teaching role or a mentor role before you actually took that leap. And so I would say, follow where your curiosities go and see where that takes you. Basically kind of indulge in the stuff that gives you energy and gives you life. And for me, it's a really nice story of, you know, I get to be on television a little bit, so people get to see that, and people know to ask about my job because it's football. But for me, the energy that I get from football is the exact same as I imagine you get from teaching. It's just such a buzz, I imagine, when you're doing a job where you feel like it really aligns with who you are as a person. So yeah, follow your interests, and also be open to trying different things and being open to different perspectives and different experiences. I know when I was at school, you felt like life begun and ended with the opportunities that were offered at school or the types of people that you're around. And as you start kind of going on through the years, you realize that there's so much more to different things, and to just let yourself be open to sort of trying it all.
Cool. And last one, what's the best and worst thing about being a pro footballer for Man City and England?
The best thing is that it's football. I'm not even going to give any more explanation for that. The worst thing, that is a great question. I would say the hardest thing is that you don't get to see your family and your friends as much as maybe you'd love to. So let's say I'm in Manchester, most of my family and friends are in Birmingham. And also, like, your holiday times and your days off don't quite align. So you maybe don't get to spend as much time, and you don't have the same style social life. So I know that most of us my age, 25 years old, when 5 o'clock comes on a Friday, you know, that means going out with your friends. It's just a little bit different with football, because you have to obviously rest and recover and do all the right things. And so that's the difficulty. That's kind of the swing round. But you know, it speaks for itself how cool it can be to get to go out and kick a ball around.
Yeah. Well, thank you very much, Eva. That's been absolutely amazing. I'm pretty sure that both staff and students at the Ferrrers are going to get a hell of a lot from that. So thank you very much, and good luck with 2021, and hopefully your injury gets sorted relatively soon. You get back on that pitch playing for City in England.
Oh, thank you. Thanks for your time and asking all them questions.
No problem. Have a good one. That's episode 5, guys, of A Question of Ferrrers Sport with Eva Mannion and Mr. Arnold.